I'd mentioned that we were looking at a lot of different people to have on to talk about the concussion settlement. And I'd mentioned in the first hour of the show, I've known Jim McMahon an awful long time. And there are times when I thought Jim was just being goofy, being Jim. And then I realized some things had sort of changed with his personality. And he admitted that he forgets things now. He has to be reminded of things by his wife. And I saw the settlement, and I wondered what Jim McMahon, who's part of that lawsuit, was thinking, or what does he feel about this? And kind enough to join us because initially he was told that he couldn't do interviews because there was going to be a joint statement sometime on Saturday, and the attorneys didn't want them talking about it right now. But Jim joining us right now. How do you feel today, Jimmy?
Good morning, Dan. I'm actually feeling a heck of a lot better today.
Okay, why?
Well, now all these guys that are suffering along with me are going to finally get some relief. These guys, a lot of these guys are way worse off than I am. I mean, I've actually started feeling better. A while back, I saw a doctor that actually relieved all the pain in my head. You know, I still have the dementia, but I don't have the sharp pains, and I don't want to. You know, I don't have thoughts of suicide and stuff like that anymore. So I'm doing much better.
When's the last time you felt that way? That it wasn't worth living anymore?
I can't even remember. I mean, my head was hurting so bad, last November that. You know, I didn't want to get on any planes. I didn't want to get out of my bed. I mean, it was just, I didn't want to do anything. You know, now I enjoy getting out and seeing my friends and going to these different events. And I can actually remember some of my friends now. It feels pretty good.
What was the treatment that the doctor provided?
He found out that I had some blockages in my neck that were causing my spinal fluid to back up into my brain. And he was able to relieve some of that. It's not permanent. I've got to go back periodically to have my neck adjusted to keep that fluid out of there. But I feel so much better since all that's, gotten taken out.
You feel like you saved your life?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I was not having good thoughts there for quite a while, and my head hurt so bad. I just, like I said, I couldn't even get out of my bed. And I feel a heck of a lot better, and hopefully, if I start getting the pains again, I'll go back and see him, and hopefully he can keep adjusting me.
But it makes you, I don't know if it made you think about what Junior Seau was going through, and I know it may not be apples to apples, but Junior Seau didn't want to live anymore, and Dave Durison and Andre Waters.
That's what happens. Your brain starts messing with you, and you don't know what to do. When you can't recognize people you've known your whole life, or you can't find your way home from the grocery store. I mean, it starts to wear on you, and these guys are very proud people. I mean, we're not used to being led around by the hand, and it's difficult sometimes.
Why settle now with this lawsuit?
Well, I just briefly spoke to my lawyer yesterday, and he said I think it's good to get this over with and done now because these guys, like I said, were hurting, and they need the money now. They need the help now, and now we have not only we're going to help the people now, but we've got a fund that's going to last at least 10 years. It's probably going to get refunded for guys that down the road that aren't having symptoms now, but will definitely have them in the future.
Talking to Jim McMahon, former Chicago Bear great, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. But if I said the information you know now, Jim, and you could go back and play, would you been able to play differently?
I don't know if I would have been playing any differently, but I probably wouldn't have been. I probably wouldn't have been back in ball games that I went back in. I mean, that's just human nature. That's just guys that that want to compete, that want to get back out there. When we're playing, we don't think about long-term things. I always knew that my body would be beat up. My shoulders, my knees, my back, stuff like that. But nobody ever mentioned the head, and that's what I think that's what brought this lawsuit about. And hopefully, people will be cognizant of that from now on.
But you would lie to get back into a game, known as competitive as you were, right?
Oh, there was many games I should not have been in, but that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, guys want to compete; they want to be on the field and be out there with their guys.
Did doctors or teams hide information from you, mislead you in any way with going back into a game?
Well, I don't think they were looking out for our best interests. That's for sure. I mean, I saw a lot of guys over my career that probably shouldn't be playing football, but were out there, and a lot of that back then it was team doctors. Teams were paying these doctors. Nowadays it's pretty much, I think they're all independent, or a lot of them are. And so you get a little different opinion than you have for just a regular team doctor.
How do you prove? I don't know how the settlement is divvied up there. If you go to two doctors, I believe, that have been appointed, and then what do you show, prove, and then how do you know how much money you get from that?
That's yet to be determined, I guess. I guess we all have to go through testing. I don't know. I don't know the extent of the testing. I don't know what tests we have to take. Then they will. I guess they'll decide at that point. What damage you have and how much you're going to get. I have no idea what I'm going to receive. Again, I didn't do this for the money. I wanted people to realize that this was going on. There's guys that are don't know anybody in their families, and they're struggling financially. I myself, I pay through the nose to get insurance right now to try to pay my bills, and it's crazy. And I went through 2 strikes during my 15-year career, hoping that my medical bills will be paid at the end of my career, and that wasn't the case. And hopefully now they'll take care of that.
Well, that's what I didn't understand. I mentioned that last hour, Jim, that I don't know why the NFL doesn't take care of its former players. If there's a certain amount of service rendered to the NFL, that they will take care of your benefits. Why won't the NFL do that?
That's what we've been asking ourselves for the last 80 years, or however long this league's been going on. Here these guys helped build this brand to where it is today, and you couldn't tell it by looking at them.
What will the current player learn from this?
Well, hopefully they'll learn something. That the guys before them have sacrificed and have gone through, not only the games, but these damn court systems and trying to get things better for these guys. Hopefully they'll appreciate it in the future.
Who's in bad shape right now? Of all the guys you talk to that you're really concerned about? You mentioned yourself with suicide thoughts, but who else is out there that needs help?
Ex-teammates of mine, Keith Van Horn, was having a lot of problems with his head. I think he just had a surgery on his neck, actually. You mentioned Dave and Andre Waters, who I played with before. I'm trying to think of other guys. Greg Bingham used to play for the Houston Oilers. I know he's in bad shape. I mean, there's so many guys I can't even remember them all.
Because it's not a coincidence. I mean, this is head trauma, but I mentioned this as well. In college, these guys, how much goes unreported? How many concussions do guys have in college before they get to the NFL, where you actually have paid doctors there to take care of you?
Well, that's the big problem, Dan. I mean, it's tough to monitor because a lot of guys won't even tell you when they're hurt. So, I think it's got to be a mandatory test for everybody. Every time they show up to, I don't think it's every time they show up to work, but definitely at the start of the season. And then if something happens, they've got to go back in and get tested.
You sound a lot better.
I feel so much better. My head, like I said, my head is not full of fluid. It's not pounding, and it's I can actually get up in the morning and walk down the hall and feel good about where I'm going.
Well, I know you like to stay in bed and watch TV, watch movies, but I'm glad you're out of bed at least.
Well, that was my only release. That's the only time I felt better was when I was laying down, because the doctor explained to me when I was sitting up, the gravity was putting so much pressure on my vertebrae that it was choking me off. And when I laid down, the pressure actually released, and I was able to get some relief from the pressure.
What was your worst day?
Oh boy, there was a lot of those. I mean, Lori always, would just come in and say, "Hey, you going to get out of bed today?" I said, "Nope." "Do I have to do anything today?" She said, "No." And I said, "I'm not getting out of bed." I just didn't want to do anything. There was just no will to, get up and eat or just go outside or do anything.
Yeah, I guess it troubles me when I hear where you were, that you were thinking about suicide, because I mean, you're a fun-loving guy. And
well, that's the last thing I would ever thought I would think about. But like I said, when your brain starts messing with you and you don't, little menial tasks are difficult. It's just it's very frustrating. And for guys like me, it's just we're always want to be out there and doing things. And when you don't want to do that, there's something wrong.
Well, I hope to see you soon, and glad you're getting out of bed, and sounds like you got a great woman there who's very patient to take care of you.
Yeah, I'm sure I've tried her patience at times, but she keeps a good eye on me, makes sure I'm where I'm supposed to be, and things are working out well.
All right, buddy. It's good to visit with you. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, Dan. Thanks, bud.
All right, Jim McMahon.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.